One of the major issues for me, since, 2015, 2016 has been this gender identity debate. And that's why I stopped voting NDP. That's why, I stopped after 2015. I kind of stopped voting at all for some time. And then, I would vote if there was a specific candidate that I liked. I voted PPC one year. But I was very relieved that Pierre Poilievre finally decided to speak out about. I think he spoke out about the men and women's change rooms thing. He spoke out against, the transitioning of kids, medical transitioning of kids. Um, do you think that he, I don't know, I mean, you don't know, you're not inside his head, but did you get the impression that he was scared to take on that issue?
Yes, and let me back up. I don't think scared, but I think he was very slow to take it on.
Yeah.
And just to give a bit of context here, you go back to the summer of 2023, and you have this national discussion taking place that's led by people such as Blaine Higgs in New Brunswick, Danielle Smith in Alberta, Scott Moe in Saskatchewan, even Doug Ford in Ontario for like 5 minutes was talking about parental rights. You have in September this massive protest. And the federal conservatives were very quiet on this. They
Yeah.
had actually sent out a memo to their caucus members saying, don't talk about this march, don't get involved.
Mm.
And, when he was pushed on it, he would say, yes, I support parental rights, but didn't really articulate a position beyond that on the broader suite of what's really entailed in the gender discourse, if you will. And I'll just give you a bit of a behind the scenes on this. I finished my book basically January 3rd of 2024, and I had a section in the book that was talking about his relative silence on this issue.
Yeah.
And then, of course, fast forward to February, and he just comes out swinging on it. He's at a press conference that I was actually at in, I think it was Kitchener or Cambridge, Ontario. And he was asked about women, basically biological males in women's sports. And he comes out and says, no, they don't belong there. No, they don't belong in prisons. No, no, no. And I had to go back and have like a frantic rewrite of my book, which was already done and being edited. And I was like saying to my editor, I'm like, this whole section I've got to like blow out because he's now done this. He said this. And, it's interesting. And I take two views. I'm of two minds on it because on one hand, I wonder why he didn't speak up when it was proving politically popular 2 months earlier, when, Alberta and New Brunswick had paved the way. But then I also realized that he waited, but when he came out with something that was a lot more well thought out. And I think he was more prepared to back up. It wasn't just a flippant, like Doug Ford's thing was, of, oh yeah, of course we support parents' rights. He actually had put on the record a position of what that means to him and what that looks like to him, with the caveat he offered that some of these things are provincial in nature. So the areas where the federal government would have jurisdiction are limited to effectively prisons and, maybe some sporting events could conceivably, like, it's hard to actually find a way that the federal government would do this. Whereas, the regulation of change rooms in most environments would be up to the provinces, provincial jails, provinces, women's shelters, provinces. So he was able to kind of couch it a little bit by saying, yeah, there's a jurisdiction problem here. However, this is what I believe.
Yeah. I mean, I think many of us just wanted him to say something because it
Mm-hmm.
was such a big debate. And, we wanted, I just wanted somebody to be able to vote for, somebody to be able to support. But it also seemed like the elephant in the room, kind of, he was speaking about other contentious issues and wasn't taking this on. So yeah, I was relieved, but I think a lot of us were waiting and being like, okay, time to say something.